Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Blind Boys Politics, and we are back here for another normal Friday news show. Chris, how are we doing?
I'm cold.
Same.
And I have a cat that's hiding the blanket over on the couch. So instead of me being on the couch, I'm over here freezing.
Yeah, I'm over.
She just raised her head and looked at me like, "Excuse me?
Yeah,
If you're gonna be talking about me, I better get royalties."
My cat's over on my bed, kind of just laying around too, while I'm over here sitting at my computer desk. So.
How are you doing, Nick?
I mean, I could say cold as well, but I guess if I'm gonna say anything else, I don't have a good answer for this. Chris is dying. Okay.
You're like, that just defined 2020 right there.
So true. But I don't know, because, like...
Moving on.
I want to say tired, but that doesn't seem right.
I think I can explain this to you. It's in the dictionary called 2020, and that is defined as mentally exhausted, physically exhausted, stressed, tired, stress eating, and crying. That is the 2020 definition in the Urban Dictionary.
That's fair.
I'm trying to get it in the Webster Dictionary.
Yeah, that's fair. I completely agree with that definition. Yeah. All the power to that.
I mean, you know, some people have related 2020 if it was a candle to a dumpster fire.
That's
I can't confirm or deny that I agree to that.
I mean, it's definitely been an adventure. We'll just call it that.
So I can get on my couch sooner rather than later and just let the tears flow and flood my basement. Let's talk about this week's news, shall we?
Yeah. Yeah, let's get into it.
So, before we can talk about what's going on, let's take a field trip, okay? Let's go back in time.
Past.
I know none of us want to go back in the past of 2020, but unfortunately we have to. Let's travel all the way back to July 28th.
So, why are we going back to July 28th, you may ask? Well, that's because we have to talk about the DACA program. Now, DACA stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival Program. And back then, the team under Trump, for Homeland Security, essentially wanted to do two things to change the DACA program. First of all, it wanted to refuse all future and pending DACA applications. And secondly, they also wanted to change the time in which current recipients had to reapply for it. Or renew for it, excuse me. Originally, at the time, recipients had to renew every 2 years. What the Trump administration wanted to do was make them renew every year.
Now, you might be thinking, well, didn't the Supreme Court already deal with this? Why are we talking about this? Yes, they dealt with it way back in June. They didn't specify on the renewal of DACA. They said the procedure they were following was unconstitutional. They didn't say what they wanted to do was unconstitutional. They said the procedure that they were following was unconstitutional. Now, the Department of Homeland Security says that the policy is basically a pass holder until it decides whether to eliminate DACA or not. After this happened, it was challenged by Congress of passing a new law on DACA, and the acting head of Homeland Security at the time, Chris Wolf, said there are several reasons of enforcement policy that may warrant the full session of DACA policy. Now, notice how I said was the former acting head of Homeland Security, because since then that's changed. So since changes in leadership has changed, the times have changed. So let's fast forward to November 20th and see what's going on now.
All right. So now we travel, like Chris said, back to the present day, and the Trump administration's new order has been ruled invalid by the federal court.
Now, as soon as this memo was active, several lawsuits were created from, state attorney generals and then DACA recipients and advocacy organizations themselves filing court cases. A federal judge in New York, Nicholas Giraffes, ruled the order was invalid, and he said Wolf was not lawfully serving as acting Secretary of Homeland Security under the HSA when he issued the Wolf Memorandum.
So now what will happen? What will become of everything that's occurred since all this started? Well, essentially, the DACA policy will revert back to the original. The Department of Homeland Security hasn't said when or how that is going to happen, but that is the plan moving forward, and the Trump administration can technically appeal if they so desire to.
Now that is the updated information on DACA. Let's move into a little bit more updated information that we were talking about earlier in the week. Now we're talking about a little bit of a different part of it, but what a lot of people are still curious about is, with the lame duck session, what actually can be done? There's must-dos and might-dos. Now, let's talk about some of the things that they must do. The House and Senate must agree on a spending bill for 2021. Now, if you remember, they passed a continuing resolution, but this expires on December 11th. And if they don't come up with a 2021 spending bill, the government will shut down December 11th, effective immediately, until a spending budget is created, agreed to, signed for 2021.
Right.
That is the main priority as of right now.
Yeah, and this kind of moves into our might do's, and I'll explain how it kind of connects back in a minute. But the big might do we have right now is the stimulus. Obviously, that's been one of the biggest cases when it comes to in legislation since back in June, I think it was. And at the moment, the word is that the Senate and the House are hopeful that a deal can get done. However, both the House and the Senate are saying that they're still running into the same issues that they were running before. So those negotiation issues are still present. They haven't been able to get past that. So how does this connect back to the budget? Well, obviously for the budget to be decided, they have to be able to negotiate. Now, were they able to negotiate this once to get us to December 11th? Yes, that is true. They did negotiate enough to create, to get to this point. However, if they are still unable to negotiate on something that they've been working on since June, we can only hope for the best that they will be able to find a workaround for the budget compared to the stimulus. But that is definitely something to watch out for, is how negotiations will go from here on out between the two parties.
Now, the major issue with lame duck sessions is time. Because between now and 2021 they're only in session 4 weeks because they're on 3 breaks: Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's break. That only gives them 4 weeks to get these things done. So, they're obviously going to prioritize unfortunately, stimulus is not the top priority at the moment. It will probably be the third in line after the yearly spending budget is done. But until then, stimulus negotiations will continue. Don't get me wrong, but it's not taking main priority, especially if the December 11th date gets closer and closer and closer.
Yeah, so that's about all we have on that for the moment. Obviously, more will come out as we move forward with this lame duck session. We could see some development and some action, and we're definitely going to have to see some with the spending budget. But other than that, it'll all depend on how much they try to get done, where they want to go after the spending budget, or really how much time it takes for the spending budget to get done. But in the meantime, let's move away from that stuff a little bit.
Can we cue the sirens?
Now, Chris, why are we queuing those sirens? I'm sure everyone would love to know.
Scam alert! Scam alert!
Yeah.
Scam alert is coming in the form of a text message
From the IRS.
Now, allegedly. Allegedly. If you get one of these, do not click the link. Whatever you do, do not click the link. Do not click the link.
Don't click it.
Do not click the link.
Do not click the link.
Do
not
click
the
link.
You understand yet?
I hope so.
Now, why are we saying not to click on the link? Well, you see, this link will lead you to have a ton of money stolen, and a lot of Americans have fallen for it. Now, how does this happen? Tell us, Chris.
Okay, you will receive a text message from the quote-unquote IRS saying the following. You have received a direct deposit of $1,200 from COVID-19 Trust Fund. Further action is required to accept this payment into your account. Continue here to accept this payment. Click here. Like we said before, do not click here. If you do click there, it takes you to a website that looks identical to the IRS website, and then it directs you to the My Payment portal. And then you put in your bank information, and then you got scammed. Now, just to put it in perspective for you, the IRS will never, ever text you.
Right. It's like that, it's like the old scam format of, the IRS will never call you like that and ask you, and tell you that you have payments and stuff like that, or you have debts. They won't call you.
The IRS doesn't call you at all. Flat bottom. End of story. They mail you information.
If they don't call, they don't text. They mail.
Don't do anything. Now, if you do get one of these text messages, delete it. But before you delete it, take a screenshot of it and email it to phishing. That is phishing at irs.gov, and include the date and time you received it, the phone number it came from, and your phone number.
Yeah, so like Chris said, if you see this, make sure that you report it. And just, as we've said, do not click on this link. Don't get your money stolen. Don't fall for this. Just remember that the IRS doesn't text you. They don't call you. If you're going to receive anything from the IRS, it's going to be in the mail. So just make sure you're...
You know what, can I say one last thing before we move on?
Of course.
If you guys are going to get scammed out of $1,200 or more, at least give it to me instead. It will go to a good cause. Me and Elmer will have a good time without Nick. That's how we know it will be a good time.
Just hit every time.
You're welcome.
Guys, you need to help me come up with comebacks. Just kidding. That's like desperate cry for help. Please don't.
I think it is a cry for help.
I can handle it on my own, I swear.
You sure?
He's not a bully, I promise.
We should probably stop here before we have a full-out fight. But moving on, Nick, I know you've been working from home. Are you enjoying working from home?
Yeah. I definitely enjoy working from home. It definitely saves a lot of hassle. What about you, Chris? You do some work from home?
I love it, and I wish I could work from home for the rest of my life, until I heard about this tax. And now it makes me want to cry even more than I regularly do.
Right. Now,
I've been saying that a lot this episode. I'm going to have the freaking police knocking on my door, checking on my mental state.
But, you know, you guys listening might be asking, if you don't know, what tax are you talking about? Well, yeah, what's been going on lately is that with so many people working from home because of COVID-19, they're thinking about imposing an additional tax for people that work from home.
So, if you work for a different state that you're currently in due to COVID-19, you might be paying the income tax in that state versus the state that you're living in. So, if you're in a state where they don't charge no income tax because that's where you live, but you work for a state like California, you're going to get charged California state income tax.
Right.
Now, a lot of states have not addressed this issue, and some have not removed that issue. Some states have removed it where they understand due to the current circumstances in the country, they have removed that. But there's always a but, right, Nick?
Oh, of course.
Me and Nick are not tax experts.
No, not
so
by any means.
If you have any tax questions, I can barely do my own taxes on my own. Don't ask me. Ask a tax expert. But what I can tell you is, if you think, I live in the state of Florida and I'm employed in the state of Florida and I'm working from home, everything's hunky-dory. Yeah, maybe not.
Oh.
I say maybe not because large cities such as New York City and Chicago are considering a 5% tax an extra because you're not using their highways, you're not spending gas money, you're not, the normal things that you would use in a week because you have to travel places. And this isn't just a large city. Most cities like Denver are also considering this move.
Yeah, so, just because you're working from home, just because you don't have to drive and all that, you might still be coughing up more money than you initially expect because, well, this tax could very well go into place. And we're just going to have to watch out for that. But overall, like we said, we're not tax experts or anything, so if you do have questions, make sure to seek out an expert.
Even Omar agrees with us.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. My cat's going insane right now because no one's giving him attention.
Well, maybe you should love your cat once in a while.
I do. He's my best friend. But
that's great. Thought I was, but whatever. I'm just chopped freaking liver over here.
He's my best friend, but I need to get away from humanity.
What am I?
You're my human best friend.
You consider me a human? I consider that an insult. But let's move on. It seems like every time I speak, he does it.
He knows you're speaking.
He's like, you're my hero. Take me home. I want to get away from this Nick. This unidentified creature. But let's move into COVID-19 news because there is no shortage of COVID-19 news.
No. Because
it's coming and it's coming in hot.
Yeah, like as of Tuesday, the 17th, on that day, there were 159,000 confirmed cases. That's insane. we're edging closer and closer to that 200,000 in a single day that we talked about a few episodes ago.
800 nurses in Pennsylvania have gone on strike because they are saying that the hospital that they work for did not hire enough nurses, and they are saying that the reason their hospital fell short of not hiring enough nurses is because they're paying $7 less an hour than the competition in the area. So they're going on strike, and an 87-year-old Republican, Chuck Grasser, tested positive for COVID-19.
Now, the good part about this is he did say that he is feeling good and that he will be working from home.
Yes. In New York City today, the day of recording, schools are closed effective immediately until further notice, and New York City hit the infection rate of 3%. So, like we said Monday, a lot of places are threatening shutdowns and a lot of places are slowly shutting down, but we remember in April when New York was the epicenter. We were hitting the highest daily cases. Our infection rate was the highest. No doubt about it. No one can argue it. So let's do a November 18th comparison to the country right now, shall we? And see where New York's at versus the rest of the country.
All right. So back in April, New York did have a positivity rate of 46%. Now we fast forward 8 months later, and Iowa has jumped up to 56.34%. Now we look at Vermont, which is the lowest in the country. Iowa is the highest in the country, of course. We look back down to the bottom of the scale at Vermont, which currently sits at 2%. Now, on a 7-day rolling average, New York has a percentage of 2.9. As for the day of recording, by itself, New York had a 3.18% positivity rate.
So, New York's not the worst, we're not the best. But in terms of math, we're looking a lot better than we did in April. So that just kind of shows you where the epicenter was and now where it's not, pretty much. And
it traveled, essentially.
Yeah, and the big question is now New York is steadily climbing. Is it going to be traveling back our way? What is going to happen in the future as some states are now hitting their third wave?
Right, and the real question also becomes, looking at states like Iowa at 56%, there were a couple more in the 50% ranges. What do they do to bring their numbers back down? What do they do to try and stop that spread? Because they have a lot less time now, because since their positivity rate is so high, it's going to spread fast. Now, if they don't take any action soon or immediately, pretty much, their positivity rate is just going to get worse and worse and worse. So they need to take action now. What do they do about that? We'll have to wait and see. And like Chris said, is it going to come back New York's way? Are we going to be able to keep it under control? In the western parts of New York, we're seeing percentages of about 9%, anywhere between 6 and 9% out in the western areas. Other areas in the state are beginning to rise, so what do we do? Those are the types of things we'll just have to look at and discover as we move forward.
But in other news, Joe Biden is start naming his top advisors.
Right, so the first one he named was Jenna Dillon. She worked for Clinton for 1 week, then joined the Biden campaign group. Now, she's known for bringing younger people and also people of color into the inner circle of politics. And she has 2 twin girls and a 2-year-old son. And she is the first woman to run a winning campaign. And now she's been selected to be the advisor to the projected president.
Now, before Nick tells us our other advisor, I forgot to put this in the show notes, and I'm so sorry, Nick. There is some rumor on the street that she has been arrested for voter fraud, being involved with that, what have you. She has not been arrested for that. She has not been arrested at all in the last Lord knows how many weeks, months, There's nothing.
Years.
There's nothing saying that she was arrested last week like a lot of people are rumoring. Just wanted to put that out there. Nick, who's his next top advisor?
Right, so the other advisor he picked was Cedric Richmond. Now he's from New Orleans, and he was elected at 27 years old, one of the youngest legislatures ever to serve in Louisiana. Now, his mother was a school teacher and a small business owner, and his father died when he was 9 years old. So he's not one of these people that came from wicked money.
It just goes to show you another person was not having connections or anything, worked hard and rose to the top, and now working side by side with one of the most powerful leaders in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we said in one of our previous episodes.
Monday.
You don't have to always come from money. You don't always have to come from wealth to find your way into these groups and to find yourself in these positions and have these opportunities. Hard work does pay off in this society. Hard work can allow you to break through that wall of wealth. I said it when we talked about it before, and I'll say it again. That wealth is not impenetrable. And Cedric Richmond and Ron Klain, they're both very good examples of this.
That is all we have for this week's news, but Nick, let's get into our newest segment, Rapid News.
Right, so for this week's Rapid News, we start out with the fact that the PS5 has been released and its starting price is approximately $700.
Zoom is suspending the 40-minute limit on Thanksgiving Day so you can spend more time with your family.
And finally, former President Barack Obama's book, A Promised Land, sold 829,000 copies on the first day of release.
That's what we got for Rapid News this Friday morning. Let's get into our oldest running segment, my favorite segment, Good News this week. Nick?
What do you have for us, sir?
Well, in a nursing home, a nurse put on Facebook that's saying that we have 2 war veterans here at our nursing home, and due to COVID-19, they can't come out, family can't visit them, and they're just really lonely. So she asked as many people as possible if they could just send a card to them saying that they're thinking about them and thank you for your service. Well, she wasn't expecting what she got. The Facebook post went viral, and they got over 12,000 cards in the mail on Veterans Day.
Wow.
She caught it on video when she brought, they each probably got 6,000 or whatever, but it showed her carrying in a big bag of cards, and it showed her dumping them right on their table, and they were all emotional and really excited to read the letters and cards and things that people sent them. And she was even emotional herself. That little Facebook post that she put out there, expecting maybe 5 or 6, they got over 12,000 cards.
It's beautiful. We've seen stories like this before. We've had a couple like this of posts that just happen to go viral, and they cause such a beautiful thing to happen. But it's just, it hits me every time because people didn't have to do that.
No, they didn't. I wish I heard about it sooner, or else I definitely would have sent a card.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I would have loved to be a part of that because that's such a beautiful thing. Right now, in these times that we're living in, nursing homes are very, they have to be a very secure place. With what's going on right now, it does get lonely for them, I'm sure. And
Just for everyone, it gets lonely, let
yeah,
alone being elderly, not being able to visit with friends and see your family.
exactly. So to have these people send out their appreciation, from that many people to see it and send out their appreciation, I'm not gonna lie, guys. I'm almost tearing up thinking about it because I love to see these types of things. Because right now, obviously, there's so much going on in the world that it can get overwhelming. So to know that there's this good in the world, to know that there's this still this peace in the world, it makes you happy for sure.
Well, that's all we got for this week. Great, good news story. But you know the drill by now. If there is a news story that you want us to talk about on the next episode, just DM us on Twitter, and we'll be certain to talk about it Monday morning show. But until then, make sure you follow us on all social medias. The links are down in the show notes down below. Make sure you follow me, Nick, and Amina, and of course the podcast's Twitter page itself. Mostly follow me. I'm the most important one. But until Monday morning, see ya.
Whoa,
Bye,
no.
guys.
Follow me. Bye.
Bye. Bye.